Fast forward to Sunday, June 28, 2026. Less than 12 days after a fragile ceasefire memorandum was signed, the Middle East has exploded. Between 2 and 3 in the morning, Iran's IRGC launched a massive, coordinated barrage of ballistic missiles and drones directly at US-linked military infrastructure. The targets were the Ali al-Salam Air Base in Kuwait and the US Fifth Fleet headquarters near Port Salman in Bahrain. This was the largest coordinated IRGC strike against Gulf partners since the opening weeks of this entire conflict. Today, we are going to break down exactly what happened, why the US proportional response strategy has completely failed, and why the IRGC just intentionally walked the United States to the brink of all-out war. Let's start with the reality on the ground. Kuwaiti air defenses successfully intercepted 2 ballistic missiles with no casualties. In Bahrain, however, things did not go as cleanly. Sirens blared across the kingdom, and a residential building in the Maharak Governorate was heavily damaged. While no American casualties have been confirmed, the human cost is very real and the escalation is undeniable. Bahrain, Kuwait, and the UAE have all issued formal condemnations, calling this a flagrant violation of international law. They aren't asking for more diplomacy. They are asking for international enforcement. To understand where this is going next, we have to look at the incredibly volatile 72 hours leading up to this moment. It started when Iran launched drones at a Panamanian-flagged oil tanker carrying crude oil for Qatar. This was not a random target. Qatar has been one of the primary mediators for the ceasefire. Striking their oil was a deliberate message from IRGC hardliners that they do not feel bound by the peace agreements negotiated in Switzerland. The US responded with precision strikes against Iranian coastal radar and drone storage sites. But Iran didn't back down. Instead, they framed the US retaliation as a breach of the ceasefire, using it as doctrinal justification to launch an even bigger attack. It is an endless escalation loop. The IRGC escalates, the US responds proportionally, and the IRGC uses that response as an excuse to escalate further. Why are they doing this? Because the IRGC makes an estimated $90 billion annually from controlling the Strait of Hormuz. A peaceful ceasefire threatens that leverage. They are perfectly willing to sacrifice a few coastal radar sites if it means keeping their grip on the global oil supply. And make no mistake, the economic fallout is catastrophic. Brent crude surged to over $112 a barrel, meaning American families are paying an extra 50 to 70 cents a gallon at the pump. Across the globe, Arab governments have absorbed $120 billion in war-related costs, while the US has burned through $40 billion, with another $87 billion pending. Inside Iran, it is a tragedy. Inflation has hit 89%. The price of bread, fuel, and medicine has doubled. But the IRGC generals, calculating their geopolitical chess moves, aren't the ones standing in bread lines. The situation has deteriorated so rapidly that President Trump issued a terminal warning on Truth Social, stating that the Islamic Republic of Iran will no longer exist if Washington is forced to militarily complete what it started. That is not a diplomatic signal. That is a public threat of regime change. Meanwhile, the ceasefire framework is fracturing everywhere else. A trilateral agreement between the US, Israel, and Lebanon was outright rejected by Hezbollah. Israel has declared its intent to maintain a security zone in southern Lebanon, while Iran demands a full Israeli withdrawal. The diplomatic tracks have completely collapsed. So where does the Pentagon go from here? There is no clean option. Option 1 is to absorb the strikes, halt retaliation, and try to save the ceasefire. But this teaches the IRGC that they can fire ballistic missiles at US bases without military consequences. Option 2 is to escalate drastically, targeting IRGC leadership and command nodes instead of empty radar sites. The risk there is triggering a massive regional war. Option 3 is to establish formal, permanent US operational control over the Strait of Hormuz, an incredibly costly endeavor that would require a massive global shift in US force posture. Here is the most consequential strategic question of the next 72 hours. Was Sunday night the peak of this escalation cycle, or was it just the opening round of something much larger? What does the IRGC learn when they fire ballistic missiles at American headquarters and only lose a few coastal radars in return? I want your strategic assessment. Tell me where you are watching from, and tell me what you think the US should do next. Can this ceasefire be saved, or has the point of no return already been crossed? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you want to stay ahead of the curve on military tech, geopolitics, and the future of warfare, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This story is just getting started. I'm SK signing off.